Hello, Mr. Brown here, your science teacher. I make videos for students of all ages. So please gather the family together today as we look at the science of ecology. And you're thinking to yourself, what is ecology? And why is there a bird on that dude's head? Let's explore. Ecology, the scientific study of interactions amongst organisms and their environments. This just means relationships. What's the relationship between that gazelle and that spider? All right, this is interesting field of study. What's the relationship between the bee and the flower? Is it the same as the relationship between the owl and the mouse? Look at the relationship of this gecko and this tree. Is it the same as the relationship between this shark and this seal? What about the relationship between the Pacific cod and the citizens of Wisconsin? All right, so there are some vocabulary words that go along with these different types of relationship. We have mutualism, commensalism, and parasitism. Let's see some examples. The sea anemone and the clownfish have a beautiful partnership, a win-win relationship called mutualism. You know, I bet you Disney Pixar should do a movie about this relationship. It might do well. Here are a couple more examples, and I like that little bird that goes in there and picks the teeth clean from the crocodile. It takes a lot of trust to develop that relationship. Mutualism, win-win. Another type is commensalism, which is win and no effect. All right, so these birds get a nice place to look around, and the deer doesn't really care, is affected one way or the other. The barnacle growing on this whale's nose gets to see the world for free, and the whale doesn't really have much to say about it, doesn't really care. That's commensalism, right? The third type is called parasitism. This tick is receiving a great nutritious meal of blood from the human, but the human's not too happy about this relationship. This parasitic tapeworm is doing great inside the intestines of this dog, but the dog is not doing so good, right? And of course, head lice. Head lice are getting a great meal out of this relationship, but the human, not so good. Okay, so scientists like to divide up all of this stuff into levels. We'll take a look at these. The organism level, then population, communities, ecosystems, and biosphere. So let's go through and give you some examples. So we're down at the level of individual organism, and I have one seagull. All right. When you have a flock of seagulls, that would be called a population, right? Not you guys, 1980s band Flock of Seagulls. Why don't you run so far away and get out of my presentation? Thank you. All right, next comes the level of community. Here we have a population of seagulls interacting with a population of whales. The next level up is if you include all the non-living things like sand, water, air, and sun. That creates the ecosystem. You get a bunch of ecosystems together and you get the term called biome. Everywhere in green in this graphic shares the same ecosystems. And if you have a bunch of biomes on a planet, the planet is a biosphere. And I only know of one biosphere in the entire universe. And you're standing in it. Okay, so ecology, relationships. Can a living creature affect a non-living thing? How can wolves affect rivers? That doesn't seem right. But this is an interesting story. We go out to Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming, and wolves went extinct from overhunting. As a result, the moose like to hang out down by the rivers now. There's no predators, nothing to be afraid of, and nibble on all of the young vegetation along the rivers. This creates erosion as the banks of the rivers no longer have trees to hold them together. Look at that. You can see the river bank is falling in there, and the river's all messed up. Let's bring wolves back, and all of a sudden, the moose no longer like to hang out down in the rivers. It's too dangerous. And they go up into the high mountains, and as a result, the trees grow back and stabilize the streams. That's interesting ecology. So animals have to eat. So the ecology between plants and animals, these are called herbivores. And that is an adorable little baby manatee we got there. Here's a relationship. Detritivores, feeding on decaying bits of plant and animal matter. Yuck. Animals that eat other animals are called carnivores. The spider, the jellyfish, and the leopard seal. Animals that eat just about anything are called omnivores. Cockroach, crow, bear, and human. Decomposers, chemically break down dead organisms. Is that, my old friends, the fungi? I do a separate video just on fungi. Good to see you, buddy. And scavengers. They let other things do the dirty work, and they just come and pick meat off of the dead carcass. Is that a T-Rex right there? Yeah. Here is an interesting study in ecological interactions, and we are in the plains of the Serengeti in Africa. The Serengeti is an amazing place with just all those little dots. Those are animals everywhere. And those animals are engaged in an endless migration. Year after year, they just circle up to Kenya and back down to Tanzania, endlessly on a search for food. And here you can see one of the greatest migrations on planet Earth. Now, what I want to talk about is the ecology, the relationships. So for starters, they need to spread out. Notice in this photo that they're not right on top of each other. They spread out nicely. And we have a couple members here of the herbivores. The Thompson's gazelles will go ahead and give birth first. They're the first ones to give birth. They'll get their young up and running, and they'll move on to their migration. Then the wildebeest give birth. You can see here a herd of wildebeest. The Thompson's gazelles are already off on their migration, and now the wildebeest go ahead and start. And then third, the zebras go ahead and give birth. It's a really interesting ecological relationship, how they got this all timed out on the calendar, so they're not giving birth at the same time, right? Okay, so I'm looking for my mom. Have you seen her? She's got black and white stripes. I don't know. Well, not only do you have to be concerned about the ecology of these other herbivores, you got to be on the lookout for carnivores. Here we see the cheetah. All right, and the cheetah says, hey, look, I just want to give you a hug. Slow down, I want to give you a hug. And this Thompson gazelle knows better than to believe that, because with the cheetahs catch Thompson gazelles, that's called lunch. Not only do you have to worry about cheetahs, but you have to have a relationship with lions. As this wildebeest has found out, the lion says, I just want to give you a hug. Yeah, right. And we've got hyenas we got to worry about too. They're carnivores. And this young zebra found out the hard way what a relationship with hyenas is all about. So not only that, you have to have a relationship with the environment. The rainy season comes in the Serengeti. And even though you're in equatorial Africa, it's still cold. If you've ever been out in the rain, and that rain gets cold, so these lions will be shivering. You got to deal with that. That's part of the ecology. Once the rainy seasons are done, it is a big, green, beautiful grasslands ready to eat. until, of course, the dry season comes. Now you have to depend on your relationship with elephants who keep the watering holes open. Right here you can see there's an elephant there looking for water in this dry place. So the ecology of the Serengeti is a very interesting study if you want to look at that some more. The last thing I want to cover today is invasive species, when ecological relationships go horribly wrong. Oh, yikes. So here in Wisconsin, we have this thing called the garlic mustard. Oh, pretty little flower, right? Wrong. Reproduces quickly, hard to control, spreads easily, crowds out native plants, poisons the soil. Get out of here, garlic mustard. Look at that. This forest is trying to grow and it's just being clogged with garlic mustard. Here we see a map of the United States showing the problem. Not only that, we have purple loosestrife. Oh, it's pretty. No, it ruins habitats, reduces soil nutrients, spreads easily, crowds out native plants, and is a big problem here in Wisconsin. Okay, get out of here, purple loosestrife. And then you have buckthorn, destroys everything, hard to control. It is a nuisance. Look at this poor forest being gobbled up by buckthorn. Ecological relationships gone horribly wrong. The lamprey, look at this little cutie. This parasitic ancient fish got into the Great Lakes, and now it attaches itself to our beloved native fish and sucks their blood. Look at this. You peel one of these guys off and it leaves this circular, horrible scar. And the Department of Natural Resources tries to get rid of them. They poison them and electrocute them and throw them in buckets, and we just cannot get rid of them. You've got the zebra mussel that was introduced to Wisconsin. It clogs waterways. It's sharp, filters out food. Look at this poor beach right here. It's just been taken over by zebra mussel, and it's getting worse. It shows the rate of zebra mussels coming in. All right, and finally you have the carp. Fast growing, aggressive, horrible flavor, competes for food with our other native species, overcrowds rivers. I just want a kiss, just give me a kiss. I just want to get you out of here, Mr. Carp. That has been the science of ecology, relationships in nature. I have been Mr. Brown, your science teacher. Bye for now.